You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Charlie, obviously the midweek, the main talking point was if you, for maybe right or wrong reasons, it just depends what way you come down on it, the referees. First of all, before we get into talking about what can be done to help the referees out, we'll touch on that later on in the show. Do you agree with both decisions that were given? Was it a penalty for Rangers, and was Celtic goal onside? What was your overall opinion, obviously, as an experienced pro?
When you look at them at the time, okay, where the referee position, so if we talk about the Easter Road one, John Beaton's right there, and he's gave a decision, and it would be very difficult to disagree with that from where he is and what the angle and what view he's got. He's there, and what you've got to watch as well is how he gives the decision. I think he sells the decision by the way he gives the penalty. It's a straight arm point out. What he could have done was run to the touchline, but he's standing there, straight arm point, and that tells you he's getting nailed out. Sometimes when you see hesitancy, they jump on the concept of, he's got to think about it, and that's it. But at that time, incident, live play, John Beaton had no doubt that was a penalty kick.
I think Porteous is unlucky, actually, because he tries to take his leg away, but when he does it, he takes Kent. He clips Kent, so it is a penalty. But I do think Porteous is unlucky.
But he's been done. He's
yeah.
The movement, and you've been playing at a far greater level than at me, that once you're done, you start to go into the kind of reaction stuff that, I'll stick my leg out there and try and play the ball away. And he tries to retract it, and that's when he actually does the damage. But his skin, let's be truthful about it. Porteous is skint, his body shape and everything is all wrong skint from there. So if you go to that, and I'm not want to steal thunder from there, but if you go to that, that's an opinion decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opinion. Is it a penalty or is it not a penalty? If you take it 24 hours later, I think when you look at the incident at Celtic Park, I think Kyogo is always offside. I think he's always ahead of the second last defender. And I don't think he ever comes onside. He might come closer to being onside. But again, that's an opinion decision there and then. Would they come in and overrule as clear and obvious, depending where the lines would be with regards to there? But when I looked at it at the time, I thought he was offside.
As you say, it's an opinion decision, and we can't. Is that why the technology is going to have to come in, because you're going off opinions, and in Scotland where it's so everything's under the microscope, particularly with referees' decision, it's going to take technology to kind of get everybody on the same page. Is that the only solution, do you think?
The technology is going to come in, guys, to do away with the clear and obvious refereeing error.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's there to do. You will still have opinion decisions that you will go and, well, on those two incidents, right? I don't think VAR would have overturned the decisions. And John Beaton gives the penalty. There's a guy watching it. Is there a clear and obvious error there? No. There's contact. This is what commentators and people need to get away from. Or there's contact there, so it must be a penalty. Or there's no contact there, it must be a dive. You need to get away from that side of things, because you can have contact and not have a foul with regards to there. So is it a clear and obvious refereeing error? Has Porteous went to make a tackle and no contact has happened, the penalty kick was given? That's when you intervene, because you've got a clear and obvious for there. On the same in Thursday night at Celtic Park as well, you would need to go right down to the lines. Their lines might be millimetres apart. So does that make it a clear and obvious refereeing error? Probably not. because of the thingy. And if you take the offside back to what it previously used to be, Scott and Matt, you give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker.
Yeah.
So if he is 5 millimetres offside, give him the benefit of the doubt. If it's 5 yards, it's a different kettle of fish. If it's 2 yards, but give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker. But the way that, without contradicting myself, Kyogo is always ahead, and he doesn't come back onside to go back offside. He's always ahead of it with regards to there.
Mm-hmm. We'll move into the results over the weekend. Obviously, it was another busy weekend in the Scottish Premiership. We'll touch on the other leagues in the Cup later on, but Rangers kicked off with the weekend with a 3-0 win over Dundee. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's first league game at Ibrox. It was a decent performance. I thought Rangers were probably as good as they were all season. I just thought everything kind of clicked for them. Aribo, an own goal, Morelos get the 3 goals. Shankers, a lot of positives to take from a Rangers perspective. I thought they were very good.
Aye, as you say, I think it was a real dominating performance. I actually think 3-0 kind of flattered Dundee a wee bit. I think it could have been a good few more than that. I think it was a combination of a poor finishing, wasteful chances, and good goalkeeping from Dundee's point of view. I thought first half, especially Sakala could have had 1 or 2 himself. That comes from, I think he's a bit raw a wee bit in the finishing. It's similar to Morelos. I don't think he's a great striker, like a clean striker of the ball, if you know what I mean. I know they're playing at probably a really, really top level, but I still think there's a wee bit of kind of rawness with both of them there. But no taking that away, I was a bit as convincing as you'll get for Rangers, and coming really into a good vein of form just now. It's as if almost the change has happened at a good time, and it's benefited them. I know when Gerrard left, you think, oh no, where's Rangers going to be here? But if anything, it's actually benefited them. Just now coming in, freshening that up, changing maybe formation, style of play and stuff like that. So I think it's benefited Rangers. Dundee never really offered much at all. As I said, their goalkeeper had a pretty decent game, although he conceded 3 goals, because it could have been a lot more than what it was, to be honest.
Charlie, what's been the biggest kind of differences you've seen since Van Bronckhorst take over, and what was your kind of thoughts on yesterday's game as a whole?
The biggest difference I see is they're difficult to break down now. And there's a better communication between the back 4, potentially between the right back and the right centre half, and the goalkeeper. I think that's tightened up drastically, bearing in mind of they were losing goals, or they were losing possession and play, giving away silly corner kicks, resulting in chances for there. So I think they've shored up that way. Yeah, Van Bronckhorst has made them more of a wider. You're not seeing the wing backs bombing on as much. You let the wingers go and do that job. So I think he'll take a couple of games, or maybe even a couple of months, to get into that style of play he's got. But they look as if they're a new, hungry team. And we always talk about it, don't we? The new manager bounce, but they've got that. And I think you'll ken better than me, Mark, when you see a new manager coming in and you like what he's saying, you like what he's talking at, and you as a player have got that freedom or lightness to go and do what you can. It makes you a bit more confident. It makes you more comfortable to go on the ball and go and create things. With regards to Morelos, I don't think you'll get Morelos scoring 20, 25 goals for that side, because I think he wants him to drop deeper and play with regards to there. But I think you'll see Rangers, the team will score more goals, and because of the way that the passage of play.
I think a lot of Rangers play right now is coming through Aribo. I just thought, again, it was another kind of really good display for Joe Aribo.
I think he'll be the first out the door.
He could be, aye. I mean, there's talk, there is interest, but he's been one of the kind of few, you would say, all season where he's just been reliable. He's been doing a lot of things right. His goal was really good. His overall play was good. I thought Sakala had a good game as well. I think you're beginning to see now he's still raw. There's still a lot for him to improve on, but you can see there's just he does have that bit of pace, and just that he's
got a kind of flair. The thing I like about him most is he's direct. See, when he gets the ball, first thought in his mind is, I'm going to go at this defender, or I'm going to run in the pitch and go, like, commit people almost. Whereas before, I'm not, Kent does it as well, but I think sometimes in wide areas, Rangers get the ball wide, and if they can't touch and deliver or something like that, they go back the way and then out the other side. Whereas Sakala gets it, and I think he's direct a lot, and he tries to commit people. And in the final third, I don't mind that at all. I think in the middle of the pitch, for back to middle, 1-2 touch, get it moving quick. But in the final third, that's where you go and get like your creative players just go and play and commit people and take people on. If they lose it in the final third, then there's still plenty of time to get it back. So I think we like Aribo and Sakala and Kent, etc. Hadri, I think we've got a lot of Broncos to give them a kind of freedom to play. And I'm not saying they never had that before, but it looked as if they're being a lot more direct with it rather than kind of possession-based stuff. That a lot of the time it was going kind of side to side and a lot of meaningless possession. Yeah. I think the Rangers have been more direct, and yesterday you've seen that with the chances created. I mean, I see it was 5 or 6-0. I don't think Dundee could have remember it at all.
Well, touching Dundee, obviously the kind of main talking point was obviously Lee Griffiths coming on and the tackle and things like that. Charlie, should he have been red carded? Was he lucky to stay in the park, or was it just an overall kind of bad afternoon for Dundee and kind of Griffiths kind of wee spell just kind of highlighted that? Is that
it's frustration, isn't it?
Yes. That's what it looked like.
It's frustration coming in, you're sitting on the bench, you want to go on and you want your eagerness to do something, maybe no frustration, but your eagerness to do something to try and get it for that point. And that's, I would say, he's guilty of trying too hard to come on and what he would have loved nothing more than was to come off the bench and score a goal.
Yeah.
And sometimes he was just trying too hard. Dundee would know straight away they're coming down there and we're going to try and stay in the game as long as we can, damage limitation. Coming off a decent run, Dundee, with some good playing football. I'm not saying it's a free hit at these places by any manner of means, but was Dundee, apart from the 22 players in the squad, was anybody else thinking Dundee would get something out of the game? Probably not. So they just dust themselves down and go again and concentrate on the places where they can pick up points, because they have been playing good football and no scoring goals, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. But they've battered some teams really, the Ross County, etc. So they'll just dust themselves down and go again.
Mm-hmm. Shankers, we know obviously Lee Griffiths, when he's going to Ibrox, he's never going to get the most popular receptions, but do you think it was just a case of maybe the occasion getting to him and it maybe just turned into a bad day for Dundee, and Griffiths just maybe was guilty of that in a way, like maybe just the occasion just wasn't the right time for him, kind of thing?
I think it's frustrating. First of all, if I'm in the side, I'm frustrated that I'm not starting.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you come off the bench at 3-0, you've got a mountain to climb, your team's up against it, not really creating it, not doing too much. The fact that he's on loan for Celtic, there's history between, I'm not saying there's history between the player and Rangers, but obviously he used to play for Celtic, scored against Rangers, tied the scarf to the goalpost, things like that. Rangers supporters obviously aren't his biggest fans. I think it was just frustrating for him. I could have had 2 bookings in the ball, but I think people screaming for him to be red card. But I mean, you're up 3-0, you're so comfortable in the game. Just go on with it. If he wants to come on and throw himself about, let him do that. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any need for people to be screaming for him to get sent off. Should he have been? Who knows? Could he have been? Aye, possibly. But the game's done and dusted. Your team's winning convincingly. It's probably just out of sheer frustration, combination of no playing, team not doing well, and playing against a rival, as you say.
I'd agree with that. I think it was just a kind of difficult day for Griffiths and Dundee as a whole, but Rangers obviously a decent one for them. We'll move into the game at Pittodrie. Aberdeen were a very good 4-1 win over St Mirren with Marley Watkins and Christian Ramirez scoring twice. Charlie, that's a big win for Aberdeen, obviously getting back into the top 6.
Yes, yeah, and wholeheartedly needed at this time. St Mirren, who sitting a couple of places below them in the league, and if they come to Pittodrie and go away with the 3 points, then Stephen Glass is really starting to think, where can I change it round? But I think Aberdeen will be pleased not only in the score line, but again, it seems as if Ramirez is coming back into to form, get the goals, and a convincing performance. Getting no disrespect to St Mirren, but a convincing performance. So they'll be delighted. And can they now go on and capitalise? Stephen Glass always said, we're no far away. We couldn't see it, I couldn't see it, but all of a sudden, this will tell us now, if they go to whoever they're playing next week, can they get the result? If they then fall flat in the face, then more pressure onto Stephen Glass.
Shankers, obviously, with Watkins and Ramirez both scoring doubles, it's key for them, obviously, to get that kind of performance as well, get some goals under their belt. But Aberdeen, obviously, it's a great result for them. But St Mirren, you'd have to worry. Obviously, no wins in 8, and they could be in danger of falling into their relegation places if they don't pick that up.
I think, as Charlie said, it was a well-needed one. What he said about Stephen Glass has said he's seen that coming. He's obviously seen, he's working with the players day in, day out, so he's obviously seen indications of this in the training ground. And I've said this about my team. I said we were scraping 1-0 wins and maybe drawing here and there, and I'm going, there's one time that we're going to click and give somebody a doing, and that's maybe what he's been thinking himself. Like, he can see these performances, he can see glimpses of it here and there, and he's just waiting for it clicking. And that was probably a good example of it all clicking there. 4 goals at home. They conceded a goal, but now they'll be looking to push up the table. I think they're 4 points behind 5th place now, which is Motherwell. So from where Aberdeen started to where they are now, I think they're just starting to get the grip. Ramirez, obviously second top scorer in the league in 8 goals now. Watkins chipping in with a couple as well. So Aberdeen will be looking to push in the right direction and get themselves up that league. And as you say, St Mirren are just getting dragged into that part of the table where if you lose a couple, you're down there and amongst it fighting. There's no many points between 12 and 8th, 7th, 8th. There's no many points between them at all. So it's hard. Simon, I think, did you say 8 games?
8 games without a win. No.
8 games without a win. I mean, if that's no worrying, I don't think it's like getting to the stage where managers should be sacked or anything like that. But obviously, it is worrying for them because they started pretty decent. But don't think they can have too many complaints with yesterday's. Don't think they can have too many complaints with yesterday's result anyway.
We'll move
talking
on.
About results there. Sorry, guys, you're talking about results here. I've just brought up next week's fixtures. St Mirren are at home to Hibs. And you think to yourself, oh, are we going to get something from there? And then from the Aberdeen point of view, they're away to St Johnstone. So they're probably getting St Johnstone at the right time.
Right time, aye.
Yeah, and so can we get another 2-3-0 result from there?
Mm-hmm. We'll move into Hibs. Obviously, they drew 1-1 with Motherwell, Easter Road. Tony Watt with another goal for Motherwell. Shankers, we've spoken about this before. Tony Watt's form is looking very, very good. Could he find himself in a Scotland squad if things go his way? Like, he's obviously doing enough to kind of put himself in the conversation anyway.
I mentioned it a couple of months ago when he was finding a bit of form and Wilson looked at him as if I'd bombed in my head. But I'm not saying Tony Watt should be Scotland's number 9 and he should be the focal point of the attacker. And I'm just saying there's that kind of third, fourth striker choice in the squad up for grabs with like Shankland, was it? Nisbet's been there, Griffiths has been in amongst it, McBurney. There's no reason to why Tony Watt shouldn't be there. Couldn't he throw himself in the hat? I think Tony Watt in the past, maybe his attitude, there's no question the talent, but I think like attitude and and stuff like that, and he had been through quite a few clubs in his early days. He seems to have found a kind of a home for himself now at Motherwell, and you can see with his performances and his goals that he's coming into his own, and he's maybe maturing as a player now. And if Nisbet's been in the squad recently, Tony Watt's is the top scorer in the league now. He's not just scoring goals; it's performances as well. I watched the game on Tuesday night against Dundee United, and he was everywhere. His work rate and everything, he's selling. I think when he's leading like that for the front, it kind of bleeds through the whole team, and there's no reason to why he'll not be included in the squad, but he's definitely given Steve Clarke something to think about. That's for sure.
Charlie, Motherwell, it's another good point for Motherwell, obviously going to Easter Road, as we say, a difficult place to go, but Hibs, apart from that cup semi-final one, they've been in a real dip recently, haven't they? And it's looking 5 goals in 8 games. It's looking tough in the league.
That's and just listening to what you're saying there about Nisbet and Watt, I'm a firm believer of you pick your players in form, and it doesn't matter. Well, I'll take that back. Probably doesn't matter in where they play with the league side of things, but if you're in form and banging in goals and working hard and doing that, then you're in with a chance for there. At the moment, Hibs went through midweek and was it Boyle and who's the other boy who's just come back as well? Doige as well. So again, will this now kickstart Hibs on to get the goals and try and get them? And Hibs seem to be the real crest and trough, up and down, up and down. There's no real level of consistency with regards to that. And mentioned earlier, they'll be going to St Mirren next week, so they'll be looking to get that and really try and stay up as close to third as they possibly can.
I think Hibs I think they will need to get their form back in track. Obviously, they were a brilliant start. You were honestly thinking about them. It was a 2-horse race between them and Hearts for third place, but they'll need to seriously pick that up if they want to get close to Hearts. We've opened up a wee gap. Motherwell again, they've been pretty good. They've been obviously very steady. Tony Watt's banging in the goals, so there's a lot to like about Motherwell's performances so far. St Johnstone and Ross Kent, it was called off kind of quite late on in Saturday afternoon, obviously due to, I think it was a waterlogged pitch, but obviously that game will be rearranged. But we'll move into the games that took place today. Celtic went to Tannadice and picked up a really impressive 3-0 win. A great goal from Tom Rogic, probably one of the goals of the season so far. David Turnbull added a second, and then Liam Scales come off the bench to score his first Celtic goal. Charlie, we said about Rangers have been a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives to take for that Celtic performance, because I thought at times they were absolutely outstanding to watch. Yeah,
and particularly on Thursday night as well. I was listening to the match on the wireless when I was obviously driving to my daughter's game. Postecoglou seems to get everybody ticking now. The only thing I'd be worried about, and I know, is scoring goals. If you're creating 9-10 chances a game, you're looking to score 4, 5, 6 a game. And for that would be the only worrying, is getting them. Delighted that they're scoring, they're making chances, they're in the scoring position. It's just that final finishing for there. Rogic again, he turned round and he said, I didn't need to speak to Tom, I know him. Again, I think he's got a new lease of life. Go out there and play, there's no pressure on you. Youngins, if we lose the ball, yous go and win it back. And I think there's more now that Celtic players know their job and know how to play in that setup that Postecoglou has now gone. And Celtic fans must really be on a bit of a, here we come now. We are going to be challenging, here we come, because they just seem to gel at playing. As I said, not to labour the point, got to take your chances, stick the ball in the net. Most people would have expected that result today to be something like 5 or 6-0.
I don't, you can argue with that, because I think at times they were so impressive going forward. We've said that a lot about Celtic. Obviously, we know we know their kind of quickness of playing football and things like that. I thought Callum McGregor was absolutely outstanding today, Shankers. See when you've got that type of midfielder playing in the form he's in and obviously leading the team, it makes such a massive difference to them. But before we get into that, we should say why Wilson's not on, right? Let's be honest. Wilson's not on because he's still stuck to his chair because of Mikey Johnson starting.
He's sitting there in shock.
Aye. But
I said
overall
back to
good
my,
for Celtic, wasn't it?
I texted my pal and asked about it, but I forgot Jota got injured on Thursday, so that
Aye.
Yeah.
and Charlie's saying about the worrying about the goals. I think the biggest worry is their squad depth and the depth and quality. It's fine having a squad. They've got a squad of players, aye, but I think it's the quality. As in, Jota's probably been arguably their best player so far, and then you're bringing Mikey Johnson in where he's no to the same level, if you know what I mean. That would be the only concern that I would have, be it if I was a Celtic supporter or Postecoglou. So he's never going to come out and say, "Oh, if I get 2 injuries, I'm goose kind of thing." But I think if they do get 1, 2, 3 injuries at some point, because at some point of the season
It's a busy month, isn't it?
there probably will be a chance, because
Aye.
I think Celtic are one of the teams that's get 9 games in December, possibly. So the schedule, I mean, there was 2 or 3 players went down on Thursday night, I think it was.
Yeah, I think Jota's going to be missing for the cup final as well, which is that's a big blow as well for the cup final.
Definitely. So that would be my only concern if I was a supporter or Postecoglou, but the strength and depth rather than actually having players like that. Scales coming off the bench for a debut. I know it's 2-0. The game's won essentially, so that's maybe why he's done that. But like, can you throw players like that in games like away at Tynecastle, away Pittodrie, cup finals, things like that? Players who have not really got as much experience when you're coming to a really busy and crucial part of the season. But away from that, I said earlier on, I wrote on Twitter, I don't know if you've seen it, but if it was a boxing match in the first half, that would have been stopped, no bother, because Dundee United were very, very poor. Offered nothing.
Seagraves saved them for a mauling.
Offered nothing. It's similar to Rangers. It was a combination of poor finishing and good goalkeeping for the Dundee United goalie, but that's probably as a convincing performance as I've seen. A one-sided performance as I've seen this season in any game that I've took in. Dundee United offered very little.
Are you shocked by that though? Because I like how Dundee United have been very, very good so far this season, and you would have thought they'd have maybe offered up something more. Aye,
the United are sitting 4th on the table. Teams like Hibs, Aberdeen, Motherwell. They've all get better squads than them. In my opinion, and should be doing better than them. So they're punching above their weight to a certain extent. So for where they are in the league, I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there, but they're doing better than what they should be, probably, in my opinion. So I thought, especially at home as well, I thought they were offered more than what they did, but very little. I've got down, they had a spell, maybe 70 minutes, where they had a couple of half chances, and at half chances, that is me giving them a wee bit of credit. But be lucky if they were half chances. I don't think they'd ever troubled Celtic all day. Celtic centre halves were just getting the ball, no pressure on them, playing it. Fullbacks doing what they do. The fullbacks tuck in and Rogic and Turnbull. Who was on the other side? Forrest, he got took off, but they were getting on the ball all day. Tom Rogic's goal was
it's one of the world class. Was
no taken away for the goal and the finish and the individual brilliance that is at all, but nobody's laid a glove on him. He kicked the ball out in front of the dugout, just inside Celtic half, and inside Dundee United's half, sorry, and it's magic what he's done, but he's just dancing past him. Nobody's kicked him, done anything. I'm not saying go and put him and cause a foul, but nobody's even doesn't look as if they're going to take the ball off him at all. I think it was far too easy, but you can't take it away. And Postecoglou's comments after it, he's right to a certain extent. It's saying that when Tom Rogic is on the ball, you need to sit up and watch because he can do things like that. And it's true. He's a big game player in big games like the Aberdeen Cup final. He's done it against Rangers before. Ibrox. He's got that moment of brilliance in him, and he is a worry for defenders when he gets the ball in the half turn and he's running it. He's so big and powerful. He doesn't. I'm not giving him a disservice, but I'm not saying he's lightning quick, but he's quicker than what he looks for. Like a big fella, like moving across the ground, gliding past people. He's a top player, and it is a goal that, as much as I don't like seeing Celtic scoring, it was a right good goal to watch.
It was world class, as was rightly put in the commentary. There's just a lot to like about Celtic now. Like if you're a Celtic fan going forward, like Furuhashi is hitting a really good spell. McGregor, as I said, McGregor's just taking to captaincy so well. And you'd be a bit worried about the squad depth, I know, but I think it's January Postecoglou will get
Celtic will spend big.
Celtic
will spend big. Because I think
talk about that.
I think Postecoglou sees what Mark's been talking about. There's Taylor got 65 minutes today, so just manage him because we need you. And that's why the young boy obviously get flung on with regards to that side of things. They also, who else went off midweek and Thursday night as well? Centre Welsh back. Welsh went back. So again, we just manage it, get it through for there. But see, when you look at Dundee United, guys, I couldn't believe I've just brought up the table. They've lost 6 games and they've only scored 15 goals. They're the third equal lowest scorers of goals. Where's their goals going to come from? If they're up there, but they must be winning a lot of games 1-0.
Aye.
I think I read a stat the other day that I think Ryan Edwards was a joint top scorer at one point.
Aye, I've listened to his interview before the game with Gordon Duncan, and I think he said like the most blocks in the league as well, but he's also the joint top scorer, which says that he's scoring for set pieces and whatnot. I mean, Nicky Clark's probably their most recognised striker as well, and he's not really known for 15 odd goals a season. He popped up with goals here and there, but I agree with Charlie. I'm not saying they shouldn't be where they are because they rightly should, but I just think that it could get to a point where your Motherwells, your Hibs, your Aberdeens eventually end up overtaking them because their quality in games will get them higher up because they'll be scoring goals. I mean, Aberdeen's went and scored 4 goals today. Hibs have got Boyle, Nisbet, Dodge, Newell, teams like that, players like that chipping in. Motherwell's got Watt. Who's the other boy? Connor Shields as well. Scored a couple of goals in Dundee United, as Charlie says. I've not really got MD that's going to go and score.
We did kind of say that when Shankland left, pardon the pun. Obviously, that's a big loss, and I know he's probably not hit the ground running, but it was still a massive impact.
Have they got McNulty, or was that last year he was there?
I think he was there last year. I haven't seen him pop up, but I think that.
I'm not sure if he's either he's injured or whatever, but given it McNulty. If they had him, he's proven to score. He has proven to score some goals. But if he's not there, I mean, Nicky Clark, I'm struggling with players that are going to go and create. And I said that I don't know if it was at the start of the season or a couple of months ago that there isn't really not Peter Pollitt maybe. They've got the striker. He's got a kind of foreign sounding name, but I'm sure he's a Scottish. Him and Peter Pollitt maybe kind of only really creative players. Other than that, I think they've got kind of similar players like Butcher.
I was going to get Charlie's thoughts on that. Definite red.
Aye, I never saw the game, guys.
Never
Sorry,
saw- aye.
I never
Aye,
saw
it
it.
was-
I think it's a Stonewall red. It's as close
It's a
to
red
a-
card, and
Aye.
the thing for me is it's right in front of the dugout. So if the ref doesn't get a great view, I think his fourth official's got to
Aye.
help him out there. It's not so much the tackle itself; it's the follow through. He follows through,
Yeah.
studs up, on straight onto his shin.
They said on the wireless. They said
It's
on the wireless at the time it was. They tried to justify that he had slipped or something like that, but Craig Levine, surprise, he came out and thought he was lucky he was still on the park.
I was
Aye.
surprised they got a yellow though, because that makes you think the referee's seen it, and how's
He's seen it. Aye,
Aye,
but deemed-
he's
aye,
seen
He
it.
would probably
deemed
deem
it-
it as reckless and dangerous. Would you see it as excessive force from that point,
Aye.
endangering safety when you think it's serious foul play for
aye,
that?
Aye,
It was a red card. I think that was
definite red, but a good result for Celtic. Obviously keeps a really impressive run going. We'll move into the final game in the Premiership. Hearts put themselves 5 points clear in third with an impressive 1-0 win over Livingston. Liam Boyce with a goal. Charlie, that gives Hearts a good bit of breathing space in that third position.
Yes, yeah, but again, listening to the game coming back down the road, and for there, it seems as if Livingston were unlucky in the first half, and they seem to have battered them in the first half. Again, we're talking about Craig Gordon. Tony Watt should be up in the squad at this side of things. Is Craig Gordon the number one Scotland goalkeeper now? When you look at him like that, he's got another couple of years. I think he'll find it hard against yours truly in the 22nd of January down at Beechwood Park. I think you'll be sending him left, right, and Chelsea. But now they come out the second half, they got their goal early doors, and it looked as if they I'm not saying they hung on, but they managed the game. Livingston started to throw a wee bit cautious. I'm not cautious, they started to throw men forward to try and get it. But the Livingston, it's a difficult place to go, isn't it? All the surface, all these things that we start to see. But that Hearts will be delighted with that, particularly coming off of what happened on Thursday night. They just, right, okay, guys, Robbie Nielsen will say, first half we won the good, second half we've done it, we've got the 3 points, let's move on to the next game and keep them on the sharp tails of Rangers in first and Celtic in second, because as you say, 5 points, it's quite a gap at the moment, and they'll just be wanting to get kind of 5 points up the way and it's 5 points down the way, so they'll just be quite happy just to sit in there and manage the games, and collectively they'll know. So for example, next week they're at home to Rangers. Can we win that game?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, can we get a draw? Can we keep the points the same? You certainly don't want to lose the game. Obviously Rangers want to go and win the game.
Shankers, it was a massive result for Hearts obviously, but would you be a wee worry for Livingston with now 6 games without a win in the league?
Aye, I would say I don't see, similar to Dundee United, I just don't see where Livingston's going to get somebody that's going to score 10, 15 goals for the season and kind of drive them out of the situation that they're in. But Ross County's got a game in hand as well, obviously, with the Johnson game going off. It'll be a tough one for Ross County, but if they win, they leapfrog Livingston and leave them at the foot of the table. So I think they can easily get dragged into a dogfight there. The only thing is I think they're one of the places that they're fortunate where teams can go there. Hearts, it's a huge win going there because team can go there and really struggle at Livingston. It's not a good place to go. I think they've got that in their favour slightly. When the likes of Dundee's and Ross County, St Johnson's and that go to Livingston, they've got that thing in the back of their head, or Livingston, hard place to go, physical team, AstroTurf, all that carry on. But I think Hearts are probably, they got a good reaction because they felt maybe hard done by in Thursday night. Hearts Robbie Nielsen probably feels that he could have come away with the game with a point. No, because of the decision, Kyogo's goal, probably because it's a Kingsley, Barry Mackay said this chance late on. They have had a couple of chances to get a goal in the game. So it's a huge win, and as you said, it puts them a wee bit of breathing space. Fourth place, 5 points clear. 5 points clear of fourth place Dundee United and Motherwell as well, especially with Aberdeen picking up form and Livingston's got the 2 games in hand, which if they win, it brings them on to 25 points as well. So probably a wee bit of a psychological boost for them that they've got that win and gave themselves that room for error. I know that they'll be expecting an error, but just in case they slip up, they've still got a wee bit of breathing space. But it's fully deserved third place. They've been the best of the rest this season, and as Charlie says, they've got a huge one home to Rangers next week in Hearts. Know that if they play the full potential that they can do, that they'll take something for that game as well. It's like Tynecastle.
Aye, but it's been another exciting weekend in the Premiership. We'll take a look at what's been happening round about the other leagues as well. Friday night, Inverness beat Kilmarnock 1-0. Shankers, we were hoping to have Wilson on because we were dying to get Wilson's thoughts on this, but Kilmarnock were terrible. So many negatives to take for Kilmarnock's performance. It just you would be astonished. I still expect him to go up. I think they've got enough squad wise, but Inverness just looked far more hungry on Friday night because Kilmarnock just weren't at the races at all.
I'm looking at Kilmarnock's squad and Inverness squad and stuff like that, and I don't think Kilmarnock's Wilson. Of course, he's a Kilmarnock fan, and I think he fully expects them to go and win the league. But I'm not seeing a Kilmarnock squad and Kilmarnock team that's going to go and run away with this league. I think it's going to be a dogfight right to the end, and it's not just going to be Inverness as well. Raith Rovers are tucking their name in the hat as well, and I think Raith will probably be happy that Inverness and Kilmarnock's getting talked about, and because they can just go under the radar. They drew with a Broth at the weekend. That puts them to second, but if they win, it was taking themselves top. So Raith will probably be happy. I'm not saying nobody's talking about them, but I'm just saying everybody's fully expecting Inverness or Kilmarnock to go and win the league. So Raith will probably be happy that they two are getting spoke about and they can just go under the radar. But Kilmarnock, for where they should be a team coming in for the top with Kilmarnock should be winning that league, and I really fear for them. See if they don't win the league, I think it'll be a real tough fight for them to get out of that division. I think it's a few people have said before, I don't know if it was on here or whether it's a conversation I've had elsewhere, if they don't win the league, I really fear for them. It's almost win or bust, I think the words were used for what I heard. So and it's getting to the point where if the next few results don't go for them, the fans will be calling for the manager's head. It's one of the ruthless jobs, especially because the expectation to win the league is there this season because they've dropped down a level. If they don't start getting wins and points on the board, then the fans will just turn on the manager, and then it becomes a real nasty situation, which then benefits your race and Inverness if there's that kind of what's the word, disagreement or whatever between the board supporters and the manager. If they're not on the same page, then it benefits the rest of the teams that are challenging them. Kilmarnock really need to turn it around, and they've not got time. They need to do it right now. I'm not saying turn it around as in they've got a massive thing, but they need to start putting points on the board. I'm not talking about draws. They need to start winning games and putting a real 3, 4, 5 game winning run together.
Charlie, were you disappointed with Kilmarnock's performance on Friday?
Oh, James, I think everybody was. Who followed Kilmarnock didn't see that coming. Again, Burt McKenzie, they didn't look on fire, getting down the wings, getting the ball in. Ollie Shaw, is there too much pressure on him to score the goals, and he's no delivering for there. Polworth, he's gone back to his team. We're all pal Kirky at the end of the final whistle, going across to the Inverness things and doing a knee slide because he's beat his old team. And Polworth,
I love all that.
Aye, Polworth done nothing. Gone to his old team. I don't think he done anything in the game. From that, the whole tempo was just flat, and Inverness had a couple of chances and eventually took it from there. Kilmarnock, I don't know if everybody keeps saying about the clear favourites and all that side of things. I'm no sitting with regards to there. We obviously can see that there is a massive divide in the table. Effectively, the top six and the bottom six, in my opinion, at the moment, is now is decided.
There's 3 points between first and fifth, and 3 points between sixth and 10th, and 13 between fifth and sixth.
I can't see for the likes of me, Hamilton bridging 12 points to get up into Arborough, Ayr bridging to get up, Morton have just sacked their manager, so they're worried about it with regards to there. So I think this table is going to stay as it is from there and then up the top. And Kilmarnock really need to go on a run. That's Inverness done them twice, 1-0 home and away. And they need to start. Again, it's performances. Ken, sometimes if you win 1-0, performance wasn't great, but that just offered no fight at all for them.
Obviously, as you said there, Morton have sacked Gus McPherson. Quite disappointing. I know, obviously, Gus is a friend of Wilson and obviously in the show, but it's been a disappointing spell for him at Morton, isn't it, Charlie? It's just been one of those ones where it's never really get going for him.
I think, I know Gus well. He's obviously had a few goes at me in my time from that point. Sometimes you get in there with your hands tied, one hand tied behind your back, and what can you do? And he's bringing players in. There's no finance there to go and spend, so you're trying to get on people coming in loan deals or free deals or whatever for that point. And probably from the side is the loaning players out. Again, the loaning players out, and you think, well, maybe they could do it for there. But as much as what Mark was saying about the financial implementations of Kilmarnock not going back to the Premiership, could be the same for the likes of Morton, Dunfermline. That would be a big thing for there. But Gus is experienced. He's went in there. He's tried his best. It hasn't worked out for him. Who's now going to go in there and try and do something? Sometimes you can only manage the quality of players you've got.
We'll move into League One. Obviously, Cove have put themselves 5 points clear with a 2-0 win over Dumbarton. But Shankers, if you were to go through that league and look for a result, Queen's Park 6, Falkirk 0 was the one that screams out to you, because that's a telling result both ways.
It's a statement, definitely. Queen's Park have went and got a director of football from AZ Alkmaar, which again I would say is another statement intent for the club. The team I tipped Cove at the start of the season, we were doing our predictions. I'm not saying they're going to win it.
Did I tip Falkirk?
I'm not sure.
I regret that if I did.
I just remember I tipped Cove because it got a few. But Queen's Park will be hot on their heels. There's plenty of football still to be played. There's 5 points of difference, but I say Queen's Park have went and made a statement. I actually looked there because I remember the result. I seen the result. I was just double checking to see if Falkirk kept 11 on the park, and they did. So it's actually worse than I thought. I thought they maybe went down to 9 or 10 men or something like that, but it's Queen's Park. It's a convincing win and a statement of intent to say that they're going to try and put a marker down for the season, and they're going to go for it almost. I think Queen's Park and Cove, Airdrie have a game in hand. They can go above Queen's Park if they win that. But I think over the piece, it'll be at Queen's Park and Cove Rangers. It'll be up there fighting win that league.
I was lucky to be at that game yesterday, and Queen's Park thoroughly deserved it. They blew Falkirk away right out the water. 2-0 at half time was no fair reflection. The midfield three of Queen's Park run the game absolutely brilliant. Falkirk had 10-15 minutes in the second half, but 3 of the goals were Falkirk centre halves trying to play out and getting caught on the ball. There was one time it was 4 against 1, and they took the chance. And 6-0, it could have been 10 easy. And Paul Sheeran, the supporters, the Falkirk supporters, were giving it to him big time. And
there's just a bad atmosphere at that club now,
there seems to. I was lucky enough to be in the company of Donald Park yesterday, and there seems to be something underlying at Falkirk. I don't know what it is. Both of us were making conversation. We don't know what it is. Ever since the youth academy got stopped, because it was one of the best youth academies, there just seems to be something underlying. And then they brought in the 2 players who seemed to do okay, and then that get moved away when everybody was thinking, "Oh God, what's there?" And Falkirk are on the slippy slide. And at the end of the game, the Falkirk fans were, oh jings, they were berating. But Queen's Park thoroughly deserved it. And to what Mark said as well, Ken, you're bringing in an AZ Alkmaar director of football. I think they're still waiting in Lesser Hamden getting done up.
Yeah,
and they'll be in.
That's why I didn't know you were at Queen's Park game, because I saw you were at Firhill and I just realised they're at Queen's Park and playing at Firhill.
Is that where they're playing? Is it?
Yeah, they're playing at Firhill at the moment until Lesser Hamden gets through the licensing and all that carry on.
There's a lot of infrastructure getting into that club, isn't there? Like
massively.
You can tell they've got the ambition to go.
What were you at that game? What was that for, Charlie?
Doing a wee bit scouting, Matt. For there, a team asked me about 2 months ago. Asked me if I'd go in and look at players for their first team squad. So we've been doing round about, and that's why it's actually quite good, because you're away looking at games in a whole different ball game now. Part of the fun. You're looking at players, whereas before you would look at the team in regards to and then you would look at the referee. But now you're solely focused on watching the player that you've been sent to watch. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm at May Saturday, so
very good.
Very good.
But obviously League Two as well. The big result was obviously Stranraer's 4-1 away victory. Shankers Stranraer look as if they're beginning to hit a wee bit of form, beating Stenhouse more in comfortable fashion yesterday.
They are. So it wasn't just going and getting a win against a team running about you. It's going and getting a convincing win as well. Forfar with a good win away to Albion Rovers as well, which puts them in second place. I know Kelty look as if they've ran away with the lead, but for the way the format of the playoffs and that division, finishing second or third is favourable, because if you finish fourth, you're playing the team to the league above. So it's not as if Kelty's going to go and win the league, right? Then down tools, it's finishing second or third is just as important. Working the format for the playoffs, because it gives you a draw against a team that's in your league rather than playing the team which is above. Sometimes you prefer playing the team that's above because they're no high in confidence or whatever, but there's still a team that's so-called better team that's in a higher division. But a good result for Forfar. Kelty were obviously on cup duty. They've got a game in hand to go further clear, but I'm sure we're going to come on to the likes of Kelty's result as well.
Aye, Charlie, what was your highlight of League Two? I can catch your eye.
Yeah, Stranraer. I was doing at Stranraer a couple of weeks ago. They were lucky, and when you say they were lucky, but they got the win against Elgin, and that kick starts. So again, you want to string 2 or 3 results together, because as Matt says, that league's relatively tight up until second place. And I think Kelty are just managed the league through. Stirling have been on a run of 3 defeats, and going away to Cowdenbeath would have been a sore one to take for that point. Forfar going to Albion Rovers, the old San Siro as it's known as, the old Clifton Hill for there. So again,
What a dump.
One of the guys was messaging and he says, "Oh, I'm at the San Siro and it's frozen." I says, every time you went to Albion Rovers, it was always frozen.
Aye.
Even in a summer's night, it was always frozen. And for there, Edinburgh City started well as well, and they've kind of off the boil. So again, I believe second at 29 points, down to sixth and Rar at 19. I think anybody in there is in with a chance of finishing second and third for the playoffs. I think we'll see a lot of movement in this league, more than any other league as it's situated at the moment.
Mm-hmm. We'll touch on the Scottish Cup quickly. Kelty beat Montrose with penalties to reach the fourth round. We thought Darvel were going to get a replay with Brecon on Saturday, but it was called off. Let's get to the thing that so many people have been wanting us to ask Shankers about the draw. The best tweet I saw all week was, "There's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and Talbot will draw Hearts in the Scottish Cup." So you're drawing Hearts again, but this time it's going to be at Beechwood. It must be exciting to have a Premiership team coming to Beechwood.
No, of course it is, and I think having time to let the dust settle on the draw a wee bit and reflect on it, it's a huge occasion for the team, the club, the players, the village, everything as a whole. When you put everything into perspective, team we're just talking there about Hearts gone 5 points clear in third place in the top league in Scotland, and we've drawn them at home in the Scottish Cup. I mean, I was going to say it's once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's second now for me. But when you say once in a lifetime, it technically is. Like, yeah, hopefully there's a chance that we got a Premiership team again at Beechwood, but it could be the only time, and it's the biggest game in the club's history, I would say, getting a team like this. And normally when you're playing a Premiership team at Beechwood, it's because somebody's been at the team for 10 years and it's a testimonial, but we are playing them in a meaningful fixture in the Scottish Cup, and it's one that we're looking forward to. And listen, I'm not what I say this and then I'm not what I say this and something happens, but Hearts played Brora Rangers last year in the Scottish Cup and went away and found it tough and didn't like it, and they'll obviously have noticed that we got a decent result the other week in the cup against Hamilton as well. So we're going to make it difficult for them. We'll have a game plan to make it hard for them, and of course there's the expectations. The expectations are maybe a wee bit lower this time because of the opposition, but listen, our supporters will fully expect us to go and rampage Hearts. That's the mentality that some of them have. So there's no slacking for that point of view, but it's a huge day, a huge occasion, but that we've got to look forward to. But we've got plenty bigger games before then.
Charlie, obviously, you know Auchinleck well. It's going to be some occasion for the club to get Hearts at Beechwood, isn't it?
Massive, absolutely massive. And I was talking to my pals. I was out last night with my pals, and that the third best team in Scotland is coming to Beechwood, and they'll need to play a lot better on Thursday night.
It was Hearts, no Celtic we got.
Yeah, I'm for there. I said to my pal, I says, see the way Hearts played on Thursday night, I think they'll be lucky to get a draw at Talbot. For there. What do we reckon? I think it'll be about 3,300 is the capacity with regards to there. Hearts will certainly send. There's a brilliant relationship between the two clubs. So I think Hearts will send their full allocation down, and they may even make a nice donation to the club as well, because they can't get. It's the last time Auchinleck, we went through to Tynecastle, we took like 3,700 through for that point. Yeah, we can hang on to the coattails of Brora, but I think Hearts are a different animal now than Brora. I don't think they will make that same mistake, and I think Robbie Neilson will bring a strong team down. The only thing is, Hearts might find it difficult to play in the situation with the small pack. Tucker, I believe Tucker will set up 4-5-1 again, and it will just be a case of condensing, keeping them tight, and how long can we stay in the game. When we saw the draw against Dundee United, but the draw was made when the tie against Dundee United. Dundee United in the Friday night had just thumped Dundee United 5-0, and we're thinking, if they had beat us 3-0, we're delighted with this. This follows into the same pattern again. Realistically, you probably heart and head. Head says that Hearts will probably win it. My heart, I'd love to get a 1 each draw and go back to Tynecastle. That would be.
Here's where I'm going to stop you, because the fourth round is played to a finish, I'm sure.
Is it no the next round? No,
I think it's this round. For what I'm led to believe, when the FPL clubs come into it. Don't get me wrong, that's just what I heard today. I was ever watching the Talbot under 18s and people were talking about it, and that's what I heard. But I was surprised about it as well.
I thought it was a following round, Matt.
I thought it was a quarter-finals.
I thought it was a quarter-finals.
The
rules might have changed, but
somebody says it today, which I was quite surprised about, because I was saying, say for whatever reason you go and get a wonderful result, you get a replay, and financially and stuff like that, it benefits the club. So on that point of view, it's no good, but obviously it is good because if you were to be lucky enough to go and sneak a draw or whatever, and then you've got extra time and penalties or whatever. See, it's got its pros and cons, but don't quote me on it 100%, but that's what I did hear. This round is played to a finish. How true it is, I'm not sure. That's just what I heard.
But it's going to be a massive occasion for Auchinleck, obviously. We'll keep in touch with that. We've Auchinleck coming on the show this week, actually, so we've got a couple of Shankers teammates coming on the extra show this week, so we'll be getting Shankers' thoughts on that. But obviously,
yours will be burning.
It's going to be exciting, so Auchinleck fans tune in for that. We've got a wee couple of talking points to obviously talk through. Obviously, a few questions we've got in as well. Celtic play Real Betis in the Europa League, and when Rangers travel to Lyon. They're not meaningless games as such, but they're basically positions are pretty much sealed in the Europa League and the Conference League and things like that anyway. Mm-hmm. Shankers, what do we think? Results.
I know Rangers are they both. Did you say both? I know Rangers are through. Celtic can't go through
Celtic
now.
Can only finish third.
Right, so it's one of the ones.
It's dead rubbers. It's kind of dead rubbers, isn't
it? Rangers are away to Tynecastle at the weekend. I fully expect Van Bronckhorst to ring the changes for this game, and because there is a bigger picture, as they say, Celtic.
See the risk with that. If Rangers do ring the changes, do you run the risk of potentially losing by quite a wide margin to a team like Lyon?
Does it matter? You don't want to go and get thumped 5-0, but you win 5-0 or lose 5-0. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because your positions aren't. You can't go up, you can't go down in a position. So it is two kind of dead rubbers. I think both teams will ring changes. Celtic obviously got a few injuries themselves, so can they afford to go full strength and get any more injuries for the weekend? I'm not sure where Celtic are fixture wise next weekend. I'm not sure if you know. Rangers
home to Motherwell.
So it's going to be a tough one. Motherwell are playing pretty well. They're sitting pretty in the table. Rangers away to Tynecastle. I'll be shocked if both teams don't make 4 or 5 changes to the teams that started at the weekend, because I don't see the need in playing players. I don't see the need in Rangers going with that anywhere near their 11 that they're go away at Tynecastle. I don't see the need for it at all, because you're just running the risk of players getting injuries and whatnot. But also, you don't want to upset the rhythm of the way that both teams have been going recently, because both teams have been probably hitting their kind of best form of the season at the moment. So it's a kind of catch-22 with that one. But I would rather rest players and keep them fresh for the weekend than run the risk of fatigue and stuff like that, injuries, get tiredness, stuff like that. Because you've seen Celtic players getting down with a couple of kind of looked like muscular injuries later on in the game on Thursday against Hearts. So you don't want to run the risk of that happening again either.
Charlie, what do we think for Celtic and Rangers in Europe? Is it 2 games where they just try and avoid injuries and try and avoid kind of bad results?
I don't know. I think I see myself sitting on the other side. Go with your strongest team. And Rangers-Lyon, I don't see as a dirty game. And I see it as being a right good 2 teams playing football. And so go with your strongest team, and then if you need to rest players, take them off. Because I think sometimes if you ring 5, 6, 7 changes, it upsets everything. And all of a sudden, you come out of Lyon with a 5-0 defeat, and everybody's, oh God, how do we pick ourselves back up to go to Tynecastle? And the same with Celtic as well. Can just keep them going. Sometimes by resting players, that's when you start get the injuries, maybe. I don't know. But just go with the strongest team, and then give a player, right, I'm only giving you 70 minutes today. I'm only going to give you 65. I'm only going to give you, I want you to go and play and etc. etc. So I don't see wholehearted changes. I maybe see just start with strongest team and then rest a couple from there. I think Van Bronckhorst will use it as a tactical side of things to see and see how he kind of keeps that momentum going. And the same with Postecoglou, he'll just want to, I think, keep this momentum ticking over. Because sometimes, see, when the juggernaut starts rolling, it's very difficult to stop it. And if you just keep the players playing, I think, I might be wrong, Mark, you'll have your opinion. I think if you're playing all the time, you're fitter, you feel ready, then the stop-start, what am I doing with regards to, and maybe that's when you stop, you maybe get these wee muscular injuries, because it's not as if they're getting thumped in tackles and their thingies, it's pulling up with hamstrings and pulling up with calves or whatever, or overstretching. So I think it would just go with the same strong team, and then get folk off the bench at 60 minutes, 65, whatever.
Why, obviously, it's going to be another busy week ahead in Scottish football. Stay tuned to SM Media's social media channels for consistent kind of coverage and content over the next week or so. We are going to wrap up the show there. Shankers, Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
I've got something written down, right? I'm going on a wee rant here, right?
On you go. Why a rant?
I'm on somehow on my Facebook, I'm on the United fans Facebook page, right? And see some of the guff I read on this website, it's unbelievable, right? See the supporters of that club. I don't know. I think they just need to remember the team that they are supporting, right? I think some of the fans I think the club is far, far bigger and greater than realistically what they actually are. I think the ambitions are getting mixed up with the reality of what the team is. They're in 7th place, you know, in the league. They're maybe see where Ian McCall had there. They were arguably punching above their weight. They had McDade, had a right good group of players. They had Robbie Crawford, McDade, Forrest, the boy Harvey that went to MK Dons, Lawrence Shanklin, playing really good. Had Moffat, arguably at his peak as well. The goalkeeper Ross Doohan,
and boy Rose,
right, so they had a right good Michael Rose as well. A right good group of players, right, and it was inevitable that they're not going to stay at United. See, they're performing well, young players. They're not going to stay at United all their days. They're going to move on to bigger and better things, which it did. So Ian McCall, for me, Ian McCall's seen that happening. He's seen, like, I'm not going to keep this. I've arguably he's peaked where he could have took here and he's jumped up to party. And I think here I've thought, right, where Ian McCall took them, that's where they should be. That's where they are as a club, and where they are now 7th in the league, pushing for 6th. And you say that is there like 13 points, a gap between 5th and 6th.
12.
Is Ayr United 7th, 6th, 7th in the Championship? Is that not where they are at as a club now? Is that no? When you look up at the teams that's above them, maybe Arbroath and Wraith, you could argue are punching above their weight for the clubs that they are in comparison as a size of a club, but as playing stuff like that, I honestly just think it's just over the weekend and that I was just reading some stuff and they can sack Duffy, players are all hopeless, this, that, and the next, and I'm thinking where they are at the new as a club is where they should be in my opinion. I just think they get caught up in the whole Lawrence Shankland scoring all the goals and be top of the league in playoffs and stuff. I think they get caught up in that whole thing, and it's where they expect to be now, rather than sitting back and going, right, we were punching above our weight. We had players that were arguably too good for us at that stage, and they've moved on now, and maybe we need to kind of rein in our expectations in that. And I just when we were I was going to bring up when we were talking about the Championship. I probably should have, because it was more relevant, than what it was now. But I need to get this out of my system, because I've been close to just writing on that page a couple of times. Absolutely shut up! These are all clueless idiots. So that's me. That's me. Finish my Sunday rant.
I think we've kind of spoken that before, and I think it's a common thing.
It's similar to Kilmarnock, because we'll see with Kilmarnock, like where Steve Clark took them, and then obviously free fall at the flood. I think the expectations of the supporters were right. That's where he should be for now on. Whereas it should be a top class manager with players that were at their peak and probably playing to above the level where they should be, and they just the right good group, and that was the ceiling. They hit the ceiling there, and the only way was doing for them. So when they started coming down and they were doing scrapping around about the bottom and mid-table, probably where the club should be, then all of a sudden they're below the level it should be. Whereas it probably was more realistic to where they should be as a club. So it was just really annoying me reading all that stuff. I like getting on it.
For all the good stuff.
I just like being nosy and just to see what everybody's got to say. But I was actually thinking, like, people tagging the chairman and all that, and I'm thinking, oh no, what are you doing,
Davey? I know Davey well. But see, the funny thing about it is, Mark, not to take anything away from it, because you go into some media sites and unbelievable, but Ayr United, Hamilton are above them, and you see what the fallout for the Hamilton supporters last week at the Scottish Cup tie.
Exactly.
Then Ayr have played 16 games. They've lost half of those games.
Aye.
And they've only scored 15 goals. And you're right.
I actually see Dunfermline gone and leapfrogging them now, because I think John Hughes will get them on a wee run in that now. So I actually think the further the season goes on, they could actually get dragged into going down the way, possibly. But I don't think sacking the manager and then going again,
especially when you've just sacked a manager.
I don't think it's the right thing. I agree with some of the points that they've sacked the manager, then kept his number 2 when he was arguably involved in and probably maybe a reason that he got sacked, and then they've kept him on. So I get that point of view, but I don't think sacking a manager, then 6-8 games later sacking another one and bringing somebody else in, I don't think that's the right idea or the right option. But couldn't care less, to be honest, either. But
I think we could have a new weekly segment in the show. I quite enjoyed that Shankers rant.
Shankers rant in the last 10 minutes with regards to there. But see what the fans create. See, I remember turning up to games when clubs were in a bad run of form, and the supporters would turn up, and all of a sudden there was a big cloud over the game, and players were feared. to go and play football for the
And
lack of,
like,
because they were just going to get berated.
don't want to make a mistake in case
Yes,
bang,
that's
you're
right.
over the top here. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, United has got potential to go and be where they were in the top of the end of the championship. There is potential there if the fans all buy into everything. But it's a team where if things aren't going right, it turns really sour between the players, manager, board, and supporters as well. Which isn't a good mix when it happens, and it doesn't end well. I mean, the potential here, Ian McCall was getting 2,000-3,000 supporters at the game, and then when things aren't going right, you're lucky if you're touching 1,200-1,500 supporters, and I think you can. Where are they when things aren't going right? And see that point, they're paying money, and supporters' argument is they're paying money and they're not getting their money's worth. That's the whole thing about backing your team and supporting your team in it. But anyway, I just
second thing. Do you think Ayr United back in the day with DL? DL was the manager. You know, I mean, Yogi Hughes was centre half.
I keep thinking that, like, I'm going to a League Cup final.
Aye, final.
Like
£1,000 a week.
Aye.
McGinley in the middle of the park, $2,500 a week.
I remember James Grady and Eddie Annand.
Eddie Annand, Grady, that's right. All the players.
Paul Lovren, who's now at Benburn,
Bill Barr was forever putting his money and his horn in his pocket to get that side of things, Ken, and then all of a sudden it's just a case of, oh, wait a wee minute here, and the money stops, and you think realistically. But I think it's always the case sometimes, guys, when you play, our club shouldn't be doing here. Well, how can Arbroath do it? Because they're part.
I was just going to come on.
You play one against the other, and Ken, guys, as you say, get behind your team, support the thick and thin.
See with that Arbroath thing, I always find that a good argument, because Arbroath, where they are, they're part-time, right? So they're getting the high end of part-time players who are comfortable playing part-time with their job, and Ayr's getting the low end of full-time players where they want to play full-time, but they're almost getting the kind of lower end of the wage structure, if you can't. I mean, the lower end of the full-time wages. So as a hard one, do you go part-time and risk attract? So if Ayr went part-time, I think they could attract some probably arguably better players part-time, because there's players that are happy who are maybe in a good job, who are playing part-time football, who between that get better wages than what they would if they went full-time, if you know what I mean. So I always find that a good argument.
Is it all players at Ayr United full-time?
I'm sure all players are full-time.
Are they?
I think so, aye.
That's a big commitment.
I think that was part of when McCall was it. Don't quote me on this, but I think that was part of McCall was it when they won League One and went up. It was the plan was to go full time and that, and I think they have been ever since. But it's a case of, say you get dragged down and end up going down, for instance, they'll not be able to sustain being full time in League One. I don't think. In my